Have you ever wondered if you are a healer? This is a question for those of you who feel like you might be leaning into your spiritual gifts when it comes to healing work. Maybe you are a Reiki practitioner. Maybe you are a person who does quantum architecture. Maybe you are a person who is tuned into the quantum field or whatever kind of modality that you use. This is a question for you. I'm in the recovery process of being sick with the flu. And unfortunately, I had to cancel one of my events because I had the flu. Now, here's what's really interesting. I believe that I know exactly when the moment happened. And it happened when I was in session. Let me explain. When I am tuned in, when I'm working with clients, I am completely aware of all the different energetics that are going around me, that are going around the client. Well, as aware as I try to be. So I try to be completely aware of all these things that are going on. And I was in a session with the client and I had, my window cracked open and I'm sitting here in my office and there was a moment where something went into my lungs. Like I could feel it, like literally hit. Now, if I am not tuned in, I couldn't tell you exactly how I got sick, what I was doing at the time. Like I could tell you kind of like the area that I was in. Perhaps I got sick because I was in this environment and more, but I believe I felt exactly when the moment came in because I was already tuned in and I was already engaged. And when it happened, I kind of had this reaction, and without going into great detail, I could see my client get a little like, what's going on? And all I said was, well, it's very pollen-y right now in New York. Now, that was my only way to kind of like divert the conversation because I didn't want to talk about myself. We're talking about the client, right? But really what I was meaning is something just came in as if it was pollen. And I have no allergies to pollen. So I knew that it wasn't that. But I could feel it come in. By the end of my session, I started to feel it started to settle into my throat. I was drinking a lot of water and I tried to be very, very healthy. Well, the next day, that feeling had gotten lower in my body. And I was like, oh, there's something definitely going on, right? And then the third day that this was going on, I was getting ready to fly out to go to one of my events. So I went to the doctor and I said, I just need to double check everything. I said, get me tested for COVID. I said, just run some tests. I know that I'm fine. I feel like I have a little bit of a cold, but I know that I'm fine. And that's when the doctor says, well, you don't have COVID, but you definitely have the flu. Now, normally I can smell the flu on someone else and I did not smell it in my body. It's also kind of hard to tune into the body. If you are a healer, you will know that. So I want your thoughts. Do you think that because I was tuned in that moment that I truly felt when that bacteria, that virus went into the body and then gave me the flu? First of all, I'm not around anybody. I live by myself in New York City. I do not go out and socialize during the week. I'm a nun. Like a nun in many, many ways, actually. Anyway, so my brain and my own healing abilities and spirituality says that had to have been the moment when I felt my body receive sickness. I was very tuned in that moment and I could feel it kind of get momentum. But is that just a coincidence? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear.